I've been muted on Zoom this whole time. I'm getting used to it, but you are just getting started, everybody, no matter where you are. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. I love how this goes. It's getting better every time. April is National Stress Awareness Month, and I'm bringing the content that's helping you identify your stress. So if I was muted, I was asking you on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being high, where is your stress? If you are over 3, today is an episode you're going to want to listen to very closely. Now, just a little bit about me. Recently, I turned 37 on Sunday, big birthday, big milestone. I decided I wanted to spend the birthday doing some introspection, some reflection, just experiencing a lot of slowness. My life has been moving very fast, and nothing felt better than a birthday that just felt slow and spacious. I had a nice dinner with girlfriends on Friday. I enjoyed Saturday completely to myself, and then Sunday did brunch with my family. And that was it. It was just a very quiet, peaceful, easy weekend. So if I know a lot of you are having these April birthdays, if you're an April birthday too, happy birthday. And I'm sure many of you are listening who don't have April birthdays, but I'm still celebrating because us April Aries babies love to celebrate. All right, but speaking of celebrating and events that are coming up, I just want to take a minute and share a few events that are coming. So if you're in the Elevate Network, they invited me to do a coffee chat talking about thriving in a fast-paced world. So I'll be doing that this Friday. If you're part of the Elevate Network and we're connected, send me a DM and I'll send you the link. You can join. You can join. You should join. It's going to be really fun. I already have a really good turnout there, so that's going to be great. The following Friday, April 19th, is going to be my second virtual networking for professional women. The first time we did this, it was incredibly successful. Every single woman that joined got value from it, met new women because of it, new relationships built. I'm waiting to hear on how that creates future jobs, future book of business. But for now, amazing connections. And I'm just so happy to bring the amazing women in my network together. So we'll be doing that again next Friday. And then May 9th, for locals, I'm going to be doing an event sponsored by the Women's Westchester Bar Association. So we're doing a 2-part series for Wellbeing Week in Law. This is a week that happens the first full week in May every year, and I love getting started and doing events and working with companies that week specifically in law. So I'll be kicking off my 3-month program with the law firm I told you about last week. And I'll be doing this event on the Thursday, May 9th, for anyone who wants to come visit live. So let me share a brief client testimonial. I always love sharing this. I think it's nice to hear how others are experiencing the work that I talk so much about. It's one thing for me to say how amazing it is. It's another thing for a client to share their experience. So this is from a business owner. Her name is Simrit. She says, with Lauren as my burnout coach, I was challenged, educated, and encouraged. If you have an opportunity to learn how to take care of yourself in this way, please do. If you are a modern woman on a mission to show up in this world, you owe it to yourself to level up and get on this wave. This is the power play right here. You will not be disappointed. I love it. Simrit's amazing. So I'm just so grateful for her sharing her experience and so that you can be part of the power play. Like, let's go. This is the time and you will not be disappointed. I just love that. Okay, so I want to talk about today. We are talking about your stress. We are talking about how to be aware of our stress because when we are aware of our stress, it is the first step of finding a better life. It's really that simple. If we're living in stress, if we're living stuck, if we're feeling that it can burn out, we never can move forward because we're always going to be feeling behind. We're always going to be feeling like we're not enough. We're always going to be feeling like the path to what I want is so far away. And I'm here to tell you it's not as far as you think. It's truly very close. But when I'm working with someone for the first time, we need to like change the perception. If you know, your side view mirrors in your car, if you're looking, it says like objects are closer than they appear or something like that. Somebody don't quote me, but it's like we get the idea of like there's a perception shift if you're looking at those mirrors versus if you turn around and actually see. And what I want to tell you and like really sink in is the stress that you're experiencing feels worse than it needs to be. I know that. So when I was talking to my colleague just now, and I love that, she called me because she knows I'm an expert in burnout, and I love having my peers and my community of coaches who I can call in their areas of expertise, and it's just such a win-win. So she came to me, and it's a win-win because it serves our clients best. So I love that she came to me because she's like, I'm experiencing a client who's coming to me with, I think she has burnout. We're going to talk tomorrow. What's going on? How can I help her? And then even last week, I had a consultation with a client who was saying to me, she's on the call because everything I say resonates, but she doesn't really know if she's burnt out. And so what I realized as we're talking about National Stress Awareness Month of how much stress we're actually experiencing that we're not even aware of in the profession, in the billable burnout world, right? When we're dealing with back-to-back meetings, endless emails, always having fire drills, always needing more hours than we have capacity for, it can feel like death by a thousand cuts. That's truly how it can feel in the profession. Death by a thousand cuts. It's like all these little, okay, well, let me work late tonight, turns let me work late during this month, turns into this is just how I do my Sundays now and I work. And that really doesn't serve us for the long run. So when we're talking about burnout, I said on a scale of 1 to 5, where are you? So let's start with 1. I'm going to work from 1 to 5 to bring awareness of what the burnout phases may look like if you are someone that's feeling the burn right now. So I said, if you're over 3, you want to be listening in. So I'm going to spend very little time on 1 and 2 because those are more doable, manageable. They're fine. So the first one is honeymoon phase of stress. And these 5 pillars actually come from calmer.com or calm.com. And it's a source where I just have built on the model, the 5-step, the 1 out of 5 model, and I've added my own symptoms of what you can expect to experience. So when you're in the honeymoon phase of stress, what that looks like, think about if you've heard the term eustress, that is a happy stress. So think about a baby shower or a wedding, happy moments, but stressful moments. So in that first type of stress, maybe experiencing some optimism, but a little nervousness, some free-flowing creativity that comes from that early stress, actually high productivity. Do you ever notice that when you have a little bit of a fire under yourself, you get a little bit more done? So it's just a light amount of fire. It's just enough to get you going. And so with that also comes more sustained energy levels, more available to take on responsibilities, maybe a little more satisfied in your job, but you're feeling like, okay, this is a new job. Let me figure out the stress of that, or let me, I'm a little nervous, but I've got this. And we have this optimism that helps us move through. And so what I want to mention right now is everything that we experience is stressful, but it's the impact and the long-term impact and effect that it has on us. So for example, if I have a door right here, if I bump my shoulder into the door, that's a stressor right there. And in that stressor, I can choose that's devastating my shoulder and my shoulder's broken and I have to go to the hospital, or I can just say, I bumped my shoulder. Now I move on to the next thing in my life, right? So I felt a stress, but how the stress impacted me can vary. All right, so that's our first honeymoon phase of stress. The second stress is the onset of stress. So this is where you may start to notice some changes in your lifestyle and diet. It may look like a neglect of personal needs. It may look like a raise of high blood pressure. It may be harder to focus. You may be feeling some lower productivity than you were. Maybe early onsets of anxiousness. I'm not calling it anxiety, but anxiousness, maybe some headaches, some forgetfulness, little things that are like, oops, like little stressors that are starting to throw you off. This is the time where people maybe start to throw off their habits, right? They start to kick their lunch, they forget lunch, or they prolong their lunch, they start eating lunch at 3 o'clock, or they don't get to go to the gym as much, right? It's not super significant, but they start to notice just the little onset of stress. Okay, the third step of stress. So now we want to really start honing in on our group of us who are feeling the effects of stress. So the third phase of burnout or of stress is called chronic stress. This is where you might be drinking more coffee, drinking more alcohol. This is where you may be not indulging in your hobbies, but indulging in counterproductive coping mechanisms. So a little bit more shopping, a little bit more TV, a little bit more of the things that don't fully serve you. It could look like procrastination starts to set in, some social withdrawal. So this is where it's Friday night and you're like, I don't have energy. I don't want to be with friends. I don't want to engage. This is also where irritability comes in. When I was just talking to my colleague, she was saying how like they notice some irritability can creep in as she like kind of moves up this scale of burnout. So that's absolutely something that happens as we're on the path to burnout. Chronically exhausted, feeling overwhelmed, maybe even feeling some like apathy to my work. I'm not as excited about my work. I'm just like disengaged from my work. We can start to feel that in that chronic stress. Now, let's keep in mind, chronic stress means chronic. It means consistent. It means it's ongoing. It doesn't mean it just like disappears. It's here. And so we want to be really mindful that if we're experiencing chronic stress, then we are on the path to burnout if we do nothing different. Okay. I know it's getting harder as we're moving up this, across the scale, up this mountain. I don't know, come with me on the analogy. Burnout is the fourth one. We got burnout. So it's not five. Five is not burnout. It's actually something else. So stay tuned for what number five is. Number four is burnout. So this is a complete neglect of your needs. This is where you're experiencing some self-doubt, some social isolation. Maybe you're dealing with some chronic mental stuff, chronic physical stuff, maybe stomach issues, bowel problems, feeling emptiness, like emotionally empty, feeling just like not yourself. Physical and mental dis-ease sets in here. And so not disease necessarily, even though it can start to come in here, but there's dis-ease. So when there's dis-ease in the body of this lack of alignment of like how what I'm thinking and what I'm doing creates friction. And in that friction creates dis-ease. And when not addressed, that dis-ease becomes disease without more awareness. So there is a lot to think about here as we're moving up the scale. These are now more chronic things. This is now me being a person that like a totally different person than who I was. You may notice in this burnout phase, there's a lot more wanderlusting, dreaming about vacations, dreaming about quitting your job, dreaming about moving to a private island, dreaming about working on a farm or even as a Starbucks barista. I've heard it all. This is where wanderlust comes in when you're really starting to feel that burnout because the last thing you want is to be here, to be at your job, to be in that moment. So that's the burnout. That's 4. 5, chronic burnout. So there's the burnout that comes in for a period of time, and then there's the chronic burnout. So feeling chronic burnout in the holidays, and then it moves into the new year, and then you're feeling it through busy season, and then your kids are out of school for the summer, and then you're feeling the stress and the burnout of that, and it just feels unrelenting. And this can look like you have to be careful because it can look like sadness and maybe depression or even burnout syndrome. It can look like extreme mental fatigue or physical fatigue or just like I hate my job and I can't do this anymore. It just feels like at this point, things are very stuck. Now, there was a point in the early days of like, okay, I'm drinking a lot of coffee, or okay, I'm forgetting my lunch, and that's the early stress. That's easily fixable. It feels like when we get to this point of chronic burnout that there's points of no return. And that's where I step in because there is no point of no return. You can absolutely choose that today is the point of return. When I burnt out and I ended up in the emergency room, I had to be really honest with myself that this is the point of return. I'm no longer going to just sit here and allow my burnout to control my life. So I decided in that moment 11 years ago, I was going to take the reins of my well-being. And it took me a long time to get out of it. But now I have a process and methodology that we'll be talking about in next week's episode of Billable Hour Burnout that will help you get through it. But this is about the awareness of the stress and being really clear. So where are you? Are you 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Are you feeling after I shared this, are you more in one bucket than another? Sometimes we think, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm a 3, but 3 is actually still chronic stress. And so we need to be really aware that chronic stress is the beginning of moving to burnout. And we don't want to wait till we're fully burnt out to actually feel better. So this is why we're doing this work. This is why we're making sure that we are taking care of ourselves. This is why we're doing the work. We want to make sure that we're feeling good no matter what. And that's why I'm here to help you. So as we're thinking through, like this is today's lesson. Where am I on the scale? Am I on the honeymoon phase? Am I at the onset of stress, chronic stress, burnout, or chronic burnout? Where am I? And that is the first step to moving to having the life that you want. It's not going to come if you just expect it, like someone else to make your life better. If you have a boss to just change the work or to just find a new job that's going to magically make it all better. There's no magic formula, there's no magic wand, but there is a process to get you feeling better. And that's what I want to be so clear and transparent about, is you have so much more power than you think, and the life that you want is so much closer than you imagine it to be. So I'll take a breath because this is intense. This is a lot. If you're feeling this and hearing this for the first time, it can feel almost overwhelming how heard you are. I get that a lot when I go through this of like, wow, this can just feel like a lot. So I want to be really aware of what you might be feeling right now and just trust that even being aware of where you're at is the first step to solving for where you want to go. Okay. So we talked about a couple of events that are coming up, and I always share the events that are happening because we often think I have to solve for this myself. As hardworking, empowered women, I think I have to solve for this myself. And that's not the case at all. You can absolutely solve for your burnout, and you just might need a little help. And that's why I'm here. So I invite you to come to the coffee chat this Friday, the virtual networking next Friday, and even the in-person if you're local to the New York City metro area on May 9th. So first, think about that. The other thing I want you to think about is that this burnout that we're talking about is absolutely overcomable. And it's easiest when you have someone on your side to help you through. It's the fastest and the most fun way to get out of the stress cycle. And you can do that by booking a consultation with me. So there are links in my profiles, wherever you're seeing this on Instagram or on LinkedIn. There are absolutely links where you can be more connected and you can get that information. And I want to make it just so accessible for you. So I will add it also to the comments in these episodes that I see. And that's it. I'm here to make it as easy as 1, 2, 3. So 1 is listen, 2 is find the link, 3 is sign up. And it's really that simple. I'll take care of the rest from there and you will be on your way. But for now, we come to the end of today's mini episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, if you learned something from this episode, give me a little heart or a like. Let me know what you think of this episode. Come find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you hang. I can't wait to hear how this is landing for you. I am hearing from individuals every week of what they're learning and what they're hearing, and how just hearing me talk about it lands different. Even my clients are saying that. They're like, oh, I'm listening. And it's just reminding me, it's keeping me in touch with the work and thinking about it a different way. So I love to hear how it's landing. Come find me on my new handle on Instagram, the Lauren Baptiste, or Lauren Baptiste on LinkedIn and Facebook. I can't wait to connect with you, to see you, and to just continue to be a source of relief for you. Thank you again for listening. If you want more information about me, Lauren Baptiste, Akaloa Wellness, or my one-on-one coaching program, Freedom, you can visit www.akaloawellness.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you at one of these events, or I'll see you right here next week.